Our modern world is obsessed with speed. We rush from task to task, always striving, always pushing. But what if there's a better way? A countercultural rhythm that offers rest and renewal. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Exodus 28. This is where the Sabbath comes in. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. Exodus 29:10. The Sabbath invites us to step off the treadmill of busyness and into a day of rest, worship, and renewal. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. It beckons us to slow down, to breathe, to remember what truly matters. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. This ancient practice has the power to transform our lives, offering not just a day off, but a day to truly live. And he said unto them, the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Mark 2:27. The idea of a regular rhythm of work and rest is woven into the very fabric of creation. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. Genesis 2:2. In the biblical account of creation, God himself rested on the seventh day after the work of creation was complete. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Exodus 28. This rhythm of work and rest, 6 days on, 1 day off, is hardwired into our DNA. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. Exodus 29:10. The Sabbath is not just a day to catch up on sleep or errands. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever, for in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. Exodus 31:17. It's a sacred pause, a time to intentionally disconnect from the demands of daily life and reconnect with our Creator, ourselves, and those we love. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. It's a time to celebrate the gift of life and to acknowledge our dependence on God. The Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. Mark 2:27. In a culture that glorifies busyness and productivity, the Sabbath is a radical act of rebellion. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. It's a declaration that we are not defined by our output, our achievements, or our to-do lists. For in him we live and move and have our being. Acts 17:28. The Sabbath reminds us that we are human beings, not human doings. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. Psalm 23:2. It's a gift freely given, and the invitation is clear. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. But what does it actually mean to keep the Sabbath? Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Exodus 28. It's more than just sleeping in and relaxing. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. Exodus 29:10. It's about intentionally setting aside time for rest, worship, and renewal. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. Genesis 2:2. Resting on the Sabbath involves ceasing from our regular work and activities. In it thou shalt not do any work. Exodus 20:10. It's about stepping back from our to-do lists and allowing ourselves to simply be. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. This might look like spending time in nature, reading a book, listening to music, or simply enjoying a leisurely meal with loved ones. And call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord honorable. Isaiah 58:13. The Sabbath is not about legalistic rules and regulations, but about freedom and joy. The Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Mark 2:27. It's about living a life of abundance, not just surviving. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. John 10:10. The concept of rest might seem counterintuitive in our fast-paced world. We often equate rest with laziness or inactivity, but biblical rest is something far deeper. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. It's about releasing our grip on the need to control, to achieve, to prove ourselves. Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. 1 Peter 5:7. Imagine for a moment letting go of the steering wheel of your life, not in a reckless way, but in a trusting surrender. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. Proverbs 3:5. This surrender allows us to breathe deeply, to relax our shoulders, to let go of the burdens we were never meant to carry. Take therefore no thought for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Matthew 6:34. It takes courage to step off the treadmill of busyness and trust that the world will keep spinning without our constant striving. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. The Bible often speaks of rest for the weary soul. In Matthew 11:28, Jesus says, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." In the book of Psalms we read, "He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul." Psalm 23:2-3. This rest is not just about physical relaxation, but about finding deep soul rest in the presence of God. As it is written in Isaiah 40:31, "But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint." The Sabbath provides a sanctuary, a sacred space where we can silence the inner critic, quiet the anxieties, and simply be present with our Creator. As it says in Exodus 28, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy." It's in this stillness, in this quiet surrender, that we often hear God's voice most clearly. "Be still and know that I am God." Psalm 46:10. Just as our bodies need physical rest to function properly, our souls need spiritual rest to thrive. "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Matthew 11:28. While physical rest is a vital part of Sabbath keeping, it's important to remember that biblical rest encompasses much more. As it is written in Exodus 28, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy." It's about restoring our souls, reconnecting with God, and remembering who we truly are. Psalm 23:3 says, "He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake." The Sabbath is not just about taking a break from work. It's about engaging in activities that bring us joy, that feed our souls, that remind us of what truly matters. As Jesus said in Mark 2:27, "The Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath." It's about spending time with loved ones, connecting with our community, engaging in acts of service and generosity. Hebrews 10:24-25 reminds us, "And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together." The Sabbath then becomes a source of life, not just a day off. Isaiah 58:13-14 tells us, "If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord, honorable, and shalt honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words, then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord." It becomes a day to celebrate the goodness of God, the beauty of creation, and the gift of life itself. Genesis 2:3 states, "And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made." It's a day to rediscover the lost art of living. As Ecclesiastes 3:13 says, "And also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of God." Worship on the Sabbath is often associated with attending church services, singing hymns, and listening to sermons. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Exodus 20:8. While these can be meaningful expressions of worship, the concept of Sabbath worship extends far beyond the walls of a church building. "For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them." Matthew 18:20. It's about cultivating an attitude of awe and wonder. "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork." Psalm 19:1, a posture of gratitude and surrender. In everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. 1 Thessalonians 5:18, that permeates every aspect of our day. This is the day which the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Psalm 118:24. Imagine waking up on a Sabbath morning not to the insistent buzzing of an alarm clock, but to the gentle caress of sunlight streaming through your window. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Matthew 6:22. It's about recognizing the sacred in the ordinary, and God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. Genesis 1:31. The divine in the everyday. Whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of God. 1 Corinthians 10:31. It's about pausing throughout the day to marvel at the beauty of creation. O Lord, how manifold are thy works. In wisdom hast thou made them all, the earth is full of thy riches. Psalm 104:24, to savor the flavors of a simple meal, and they did eat, and were all filled. Mark 6:42, to delight in the laughter of loved ones. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine. Proverbs 17:22. In biblical times, the Sabbath was a day set aside for remembering and celebrating God's faithfulness. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Exodus 28. It was a time to recount his mighty acts, to tell stories of his deliverance, and to express gratitude for his abundant provision. O give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endureth forever. Psalm 136:1. Similarly, Sabbath worship today can be a powerful antidote to the anxieties and uncertainties of modern life. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. By taking time to reflect on God's goodness, to count our blessings, to remember his faithfulness, we cultivate a spirit of gratitude that changes the way we see the world. In everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. 1 Thessalonians 5:18. This tapestry of gratitude is woven thread by thread throughout the Sabbath day. And let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to the which also ye are called in one body, and be ye thankful. Colossians 3:15. It's in the moments of quiet contemplation where we allow ourselves to be filled with awe and wonder at the vastness of the universe and the intimacy of God's love. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Sabbath worship is not a solo performance. It's a symphony of praise and thanksgiving that involves the whole community. Let us come before his presence with thanksgiving and make a joyful noise unto him with psalms. Psalm 95:2. In biblical times, the Sabbath was a day for gathering together, for sharing meals, for singing psalms, and for encouraging one another in their faith. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another. Hebrews 10:24-25. In our increasingly fragmented and isolated world, the need for this kind of communal worship is perhaps greater than ever. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Psalm 133:1. The Sabbath offers a countercultural invitation to gather, not out of obligation or social pressure, but out of a shared desire to connect with God and with one another. For where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. Matthew 18:20. We are reminded that we are not alone in our joys and sorrows, our doubts and victories. Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. Galatians 6:2. Sabbath worship, when shared with others, becomes a symphony of grace, a tapestry of love, a testament to the power of community. And they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship, and in breaking of bread and in prayers. Acts 2:42. We often think of renewal as something that happens on vacation, a chance to escape the daily grind and recharge our batteries. But the Sabbath offers something deeper than a temporary respite. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Exodus 20:8. It's not just about escaping our problems, but about encountering God in a way that transforms us from the inside out. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. Imagine a potter carefully shaping a lump of clay on a wheel. The Sabbath is like the potter's hands, gently molding us into vessels of grace and beauty. But now, O Lord, thou art our Father, we are the clay, and thou our potter, and we all are the work of thy hand. Isaiah 64:8. This process of renewal is not always easy or comfortable, but it's in these moments of honesty and vulnerability that true transformation occurs. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Romans 12:2. In the arid landscape of our busy lives, the Sabbath offers a deep wellspring of spiritual renewal. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. It's a time to reconnect with our souls, to remember who we are at our core, to listen to the still small voice of God whispering our true names. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. The Bible tells us that those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. Isaiah 40:31. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Isaiah 40:31. This promise of renewal is not just for some distant future. It's for us, here and now, as we choose to step off the treadmill of busyness and enter into the rest God offers. And he said unto them, Come ye yourselves apart into a desert place and rest a while. Mark 6:31. Just as a garden requires regular tending to flourish, so too does our spiritual life need the nourishment of Sabbath rest and renewal. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Exodus 28. One of the most profound gifts of Sabbath keeping is the gift of perspective. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Exodus 28. When we step away from the relentless demands of our daily lives, we gain a fresh perspective on what truly matters. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. Imagine standing too close to a beautiful mosaic. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. 1 Corinthians 13:12. The individual tiles might seem random and chaotic, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God. Romans 8:28. But as you step back, you begin to see the bigger picture, the intricate design that emerges from the seemingly disparate parts. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. Psalm 121:8. The Sabbath allows us to step back from the busyness of our lives and see the grand tapestry that God is weaving. He hath made everything beautiful in his time. Ecclesiastes 3:11. The beauty of the Sabbath lies in its adaptability. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Exodus 28. There's no one-size-fits-all approach, no rigid set of rules. And he said unto them, The Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Mark 2:27. Instead, we're invited to create a Sabbath rhythm that fits our individual lives, our families, our community. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. It's about discovering what brings us rest, renews our spirits, and deepens our connection with God and others. And he said, My presence shall go with thee, and I will give thee rest. Exodus 33:14. The key is not the specific activity itself, but the intentionality behind it. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Isaiah 30:15. It's about creating space for silence, for solitude, for connection, for simply being present in the moment. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. One of the most challenging yet rewarding aspects of Sabbath keeping is learning to embrace the unexpected. As Proverbs 16:9 says, A man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his steps. It means letting go of our need to control every detail, to plan every moment, and to achieve a certain level of productivity. Ecclesiastes 3:1 reminds us, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven." Imagine planning a relaxing Sabbath morning at home, only to have your neighbor knock on the door needing help with an unexpected crisis. As Galatians 6:2 encourages, "Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ." These unplanned moments often become the most meaningful and memorable parts of our Sabbath experience. As Romans 8:28 assures us, "And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose." As we begin to experience the transformative power of the Sabbath in our own lives, we can't help but share it with others. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Exodus 28. It's not about imposing our beliefs or practices on anyone, but about living out our faith in a way that inspires curiosity and invites others to experience the same peace and renewal we've found. "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Matthew 11:28. Imagine the impact of a workplace where Sabbath rest is not just tolerated but encouraged, where employees are given the freedom to disconnect and recharge without fear of judgment or reprisal. "And he said unto them, The Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath." Mark 2:27. Or picture a neighborhood where families gather regularly for Sabbath meals, sharing stories, laughter, and support. "For where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them." Matthew 18:20. These are just a few examples of how the ripple effect of Sabbath keeping can transform not just individuals but entire communities. It's about creating a culture of rest, of connection, of wholeness, a culture that reflects the very heart of God. "And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made." Genesis 2:3. It's about reclaiming this ancient practice as a gift, a sanctuary, a revolution of rest in the midst of our weary world. "There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God." Hebrews 4:9. We live in a world that prizes busyness, a world that often equates our worth with our productivity. It's a world that can leave us feeling depleted, disconnected, and desperately yearning for something more. "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Matthew 11:28. The ancient practice of Sabbath keeping offers a counter-narrative, a radical act of resistance against the tyranny of the urgent. "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy." Exodus 20:8. It's a return to the rhythm of grace woven into the fabric of creation, a rhythm of work and rest, of giving and receiving, of striving and surrendering. Rediscovering the Sabbath is not about adding another item to our already overflowing to-do lists. It's about shifting our entire orientation, about embracing a different way of being in the world. "Be still and know that I am God." Psalm 46:10. It's about recognizing that our value is not determined by what we achieve, but by who we are. Beloved children of God, created in his image, invited to participate in his rest. "And he said unto them, The Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath." Mark 2:27. This journey of rediscovering the Sabbath is not a destination but a dance, a lifelong exploration of what it means to live a truly human life. It's about discovering the rhythms that bring us life, the practices that nourish our souls, the relationships that remind us of what truly matters. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. Exodus 20:9-10. In the cacophony of our modern world, with its constant demands and distractions, the Sabbath invites us to embrace a stillness revolution. "Be still and know that I am God." Psalm 46:10. It's a revolution that begins in the depths of our own hearts, a conscious choice to turn down the volume of the world and tune into the whispers of our souls. It's in the stillness, in the quiet spaces between the notes, and the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Philippians 4:7. That we often hear God's voice most clearly. "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. This stillness is not about passivity or inactivity. It's about creating space for God to work in and through us, for creativity to flourish, for relationships to deepen. For where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. Matthew 18:20. It's about allowing ourselves to be fully present to the gift of the present moment, to savor the simple joys of life, to experience the fullness of God's presence in the everyday. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. Psalm 24:1. This stillness revolution is not a solitary pursuit. It's something we're invited to live out in community, to create spaces of respite and renewal for ourselves and for others. Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. Galatians 6:2. It's about slowing down enough to notice the needs around us, to offer a listening ear, a helping hand, a compassionate heart, and be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God for Christ's sake hath forgiven you. Ephesians 4:32. The invitation to Sabbath rest is not just for the religious or the spiritual. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. It's for all of us, regardless of our beliefs or backgrounds, who long for a life of greater peace, purpose, and joy. And he said unto them, the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Mark 2:27. It's an invitation to step off the treadmill of busyness and into the spaciousness of God's grace. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. Psalm 23:2. To exchange the weight of our striving for the lightness of his presence. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Matthew 11:30. Imagine a world where Sabbath rest is not a luxury, but a way of life. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Exodus 28. Where we prioritize our well-being, nurture our relationships, and live in harmony with the rhythms of creation. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. Exodus 29:10. Imagine a world where we celebrate the gift of each day, where we approach our work with renewed energy and purpose, and where we live from a place of overflow, not depletion. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. This is the world the Sabbath invites us to co-create, a world where rest is not just a day of the week, but a state of being, a way of living that reflects the very heart of God. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. It's an invitation to rediscover the lost art of living, to embrace the transformative power of rest, and to experience the fullness of life that God intends for us, starting today. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it. Genesis 2:3. Please subscribe to our channel and visit our website for more inspiring content.